Today I'm going to show you how I set up my classroom printmaking table, my mise en place. But why do I call it my mise en place? And what does that have to do with printmaking and the art classroom? The phrase mise en place is a French cooking term that means the time you spend preparing all the utensils and ingredients before you begin to serve the meals to your customers. This term literally means putting everything into place, or everything in its place. That means taking out all ingredients and tools, arranging them in a convenient way, and preparing anything necessary for cooking, like chopping vegetables or cutting up meat, so they're ready to be thrown in a pan at a moment's notice for each order. The goal of mise en place is twofold: organization and focus. Doing your mise en place also makes it easier to cook cleanly, meaning your workspace is neat and tidy throughout the process. Everything in its place and everything prepared in advance. This is exactly what's needed in printmaking. Organizing the printmaking table, whether it's in the studio or in a makeshift place at home or in the classroom, is all about getting everything out in its place, prepared and ready to go before you roll any printing ink out onto the table for actual printing. Because as soon as you squeeze that printing ink out of the tube, you need to work quickly and smoothly before the ink starts to dry. Mise en place in the printmaking space ensures you get the best prints with the least stress, ensures that a group of students can all work on their own prints side by side without any chaos. We want an inking area, which is going to get quite messy, and then next to it a clean area. And on this table, I can get 6 students working together. I will have 1 student here and 2 students here and another at this end and another 2 here. And then I'm working alongside them. So each one of them has an inking area, quite a confined area there, and then a clean area where they're doing their prints. I've just spread it out a little bit for my demonstration today. The other things that I'll point out here is that I'm using an acrylic or water-based block printing ink. I've got on hand some acrylic medium just for introducing a little bit more liquid to the ink for 2 reasons. One, if it's not like this, a new tube, but if it's an older tube and the ink has started to dry out, adding a tiny bit of medium will help. And then when we come to mono printing, sometimes it helps to have a little bit more moisture in the ink. Of course, we never add water, so the medium is really great. You'll notice that in most of my printing, I'm using a thin paper that looks like tracing paper. It's actually sandwich paper. It's a lunch wrap paper, and it's really easy to use. It's quite strong. It's stronger than tissue paper, and it's very, very cheap to use. I've got some other materials, some scraping materials here and drawing materials for using with the monoprint. And I've also got some tabs of paper prepared, and these are great for when you've got dirty fingers, even if you're using gloves, and you can easily pick up your printing paper by both corners. And I teach my students to hold the paper by diagonal corners so that they can then lay it in position. So I've got those prepared and sitting like little tents so that they're very easy to pick up. Some stages we need paper to mask an area of table or an area of print that has accidentally got some ink on it before we print, and so I've got different sizes of masking paper here, and I've already turned the edge up again just like these so that they're very easy to pick up when your hands are maybe a little bit dirty. Now I notice that some craft stores and art shops offer these sponge rollers, and my students and I have tried these, but in fact we prefer the rubber rollers. The sponge rollers are not very good, especially if you've got detail. So when we come to do relief print with leaves, using these with paint, which is what's suggested very often, it fills in all the gaps and then the paper goes into those gaps and it doesn't produce a clean print. Whereas using the rubber roller produces a much more satisfying result. The other essentials are where to put the wet prints. So I always have on hand my drying racks. But what I do in the classroom and in my own studio is also just use string lines. So I'll put these string lines across the ceiling, and I find that it's very, very easy to take a print by the corner and fold the corner over the string, and then to use a paper clip to just hold it in place. So this becomes a very convenient way of storing prints while they dry, because this printing ink, even though it's water-based printing ink and it dries very quickly, it sometimes may take 2 days before it's dry enough to stack in a folder.